So this tutorial is to help you prepare a show reel for your 2D animation study. So the first thing we need is to take our 3 exercises from After Effects and make sure we've rendered them as MOV files. So if you haven't done that yet, under Composition in After Effects, we add it to the render queue and we specify where to save it. So this one here, I'm going to save onto the desktop into a folder I've called MOVs, and it will be, this is the kinetic exercise. So kinetic, I go yes, and I hit the render button, and depending how complex it is, it will take a few seconds and your file will be rendered. So I'm finished with After Effects for the moment, and in my MOVs folder I have the keyframe, the kinetic, and the fireball exercises ready to make into a show reel. So now we go into Adobe Premiere and we find Premiere and we create a new Premiere project. So I will create a new project. I'm going to call it Show Reel, or yeah, Show Reel is fine. And I'm going to go to my MOVs folder, and I'm actually going to create it here with the MOVs. So choose that. Everything else is fine. I have a choice between HD or DV. I'm going to use HD, and that will create my new project. In here, I'm going to import my 3 MOV files to start with, and I'm going to lay them out with the keyframe first, the kinetic second, and let's just squash that up a bit, the fireball third. So I've laid them out in here. So every good show reel needs a title, so let's go to Title, New Title, and take the first option, Default Still. We'll call it just Title is fine. And in here I'm going to use the text tool, draw out a box, and call it Ken Newman's 2D animation study. And maybe I'll center that, and maybe I'll take that up in size a bit to about 200 maybe, and that will be my title, and I can bring that title in and put it on, say, video track 2. So now my title sits there. I don't want it on at the same time as my first animation, so I'm going to let it be there. By the way, how long do we leave it on? The one rule is if you can read it out loud, that should be how long you should leave it there. So Ken Newman's 2D animation study. I think it should be about that long. I'm also going to make a copy of this one, Command C, Command V, and I'm going to put in my first title, which is Keyframe Animation. Maybe even a part 1. Part 1, keyframe animation. Yeah. Again, maybe I'll take that up to 200. Too big. Take that back to 145. Part 1, keyframe animation. Lovely. So I can put my part 1 in here and do the same thing. Part 1 keyframe animation. Right, so I want it to be that long. And so I have animation study, part 1 keyframe animation, and into my first animation. I can then command copy, command paste, make part 2 kinetic typography, and drop that into place as well.
I was adorable
to
once.
kinetic
Now.
typography. So I want it to be that long. And again, I'll just move these off. And you get the idea. So part 3, command copy, command paste. Part 3 will be fireball. Okay, and part 3 can go up here. So that's now kind of got things where I want them. The last title, well, the last text will be the credits. For this one, I'm going to go for a default role. And we'll call this one credits. Now, in this one, I'm going to make a somewhat longer field and put in produced by Ken Newman, music, and I'm going to put in used by permission. In fact, here I have a couple of pieces of music. One is the Haunted Mansion, and if there was any other, used by permission from freesfx.co.uk .org.co.uk, because that's where I've got the permission from. That's where I got my royalty-free music. So if there's a couple of pieces of music, then you would put this each time. Music test. And also my sound effects. Used by permission. Okay, so you get the idea. I'm going to make this a bit longer because I'm going to give a credit for the higher colleges. Thanks to higher colleges of technology, RAC, Women's College. You can credit your teacher if you would like to thank your teacher. And finally, I'm going to put in a copyright symbol, which look, the easiest way to get the copyright symbol is just to go copyright symbol and pick it up. So I'm going to put a copyright symbol in here and say copyright. We always put the year with the copyright, 2016, Ken Newman. And that's what I'm going to end with. Now we have a controller here that gives us the crawl options. Let me just show you that again. That's this button here gives us the roll option. So we're going to roll top to bottom. We'll start off screen. We're going to ease out over 1 second, 30 frames, and we're going to stay on frame for 2 seconds after we've stopped. And hopefully that will look something like this. So now to get just the copyright appearing at the end, you may need to play around a bit with the spacing here. Let's say I'm going to pull out the size of this and put a couple of spare lines in underneath and a couple of lines at the top as well, and see what that looks like. So. And then if I find it's running a bit fast, which it kind of is, then I can just stretch this out over another second or so until it's moving at the speed that I want it to move at, which now it's a bit slow, so yeah, maybe something like that. Now my showreel definitely needs some music, so I'm going to jump over to freesoundeffects.co.uk. This site doesn't have any membership cost. You need to become a member to download the music, but all of the music can be, and the sound effects can be used for free. So I'm going into comedy, and I've decided I really like this Gotham Boogie. Yeah, perfect. So I'll just quickly download that. And once it's downloaded, of course, I will copy it to my project folder, Gotham Boogie, and bring it into my project. So now I'm just going to drop it across to Audio 2. By the way, I've opened up Audio 2. It'll look kind of like that. Don't put it in Audio 1 because we've already got audio on our Kinetic movie and also on the Fireball. So it's in here. Let's have a look at that now. So the timing of it is pretty good. Let's just open it up a little bit. I feel like I might want it to... I'd like it to actually start with that beat as soon as it cuts to the beginning. So I'm just going to shorten that a bit and move it in. Yeah, so the beat actually starts a bit before my keyframe movie. I can also maybe fade it in a bit. So I'm going to click on the audio and create a keyframe at the beginning. Wait, where was that? Keyframe here. Wait, keyframe here, and bring it down, and then another keyframe about here and take it up to normal level. So now And over here where the kinetic movie starts, the kinetic typography, I don't want...
I was adorable once.
I don't want the music to be going through there. So I will take the audio out by putting a keyframe here, and by the start of the movie, by the start of this kinetic exercise, the audio's gone down to 0. Same at the end here. I will put another keyframe here and fade the music in for the third title. And the same thing again, as the Fireball has its own audio, we'll take that down. And then finally, for the final credits, we'll fade the music up again. And in fact, we've got a lot of music there. We don't need all this music. I'm just going to shorten it through to the end there, and we'll fade it out from maybe a little bit more past the black there. Fade it out from the last credit, my copyright credit, to the end. Now, before we call it finished, there's one last thing we'll do to really make this look nice. We're going to select all the video and title pieces, and we're going to put the default transition on. The default transition is simply for each transition, fade to black or fade from black. So fading from black, fading out to black while the new one fades in, fade out, fade up. So you can see we've got these fade in, fade outs added to all of the video. And now let's have a look at our final showreel. One more thing, I've decided I don't really like the text. So I'm going to just grab my first title and maybe this one. Yeah, that's a bit more dramatic. So I'm going to go through and change those to this nice preset here. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so let's have a look and see what we have.
I was adorable once. Now, look at me. I'm this short, fat, insecure, middle-aged thing. I made you short?
So once we've got everything exactly as we want it, then we need to export the video file. So we go File, Export Media. We click on the output name because the output name is also the output path. So we'll go to Desktop, MOVs, and save it as showreel. Save that, and match source is fine, and that should be okay. And once it's exported, then as we would expect, it's a MOV file. It's playable in any video player, more or less, uploadable to YouTube, shareable with social media. Okay, so that's it for this showreel tutorial. And as always, I look forward to seeing what fabulous showreels you're going to produce as part of your 2D animation study.